Congratulations on this project. It is fantastic. I watched it last night. I thought it was a great watch all the way through. What was it like taking on a story like this? Because Rosemary's Baby was such an iconic film, and this is, based on the same story. What is it like to, create this and, with the obligation to make it just as great as the original?
Well, began in Skylar's twisted mind, so I'll let her begin.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a super fan of Rosemary's Baby. I have loved it, and it's one of the movies that made me want to make movies. And I grew up in New York City, and would always pass the Dakota, which is the real life Bramford, and just imagining sort of all the really cool stories that existed in this building, sort of in the cinematic universe of New York's Upper West Side. It feels like, how can we build on this? How do we have something new to say with one of the greatest horror movies ever made? And, that was, I think, the challenge for me was, what a dream to be able to work on it. But in order to do so, you really kind of need to have something new to say. And exploring Terry's story gave this opportunity to really look at a woman who had a lot of agency, a woman who was a big dreamer, who was ambitious, who was, in charge of and responsible for her own decisions every step of the way. And, seeing this story through a different lens of this empowered, fierce woman.
Yeah, and I mean, when I came onto the project, I felt so privileged, but also terrified and overwhelmed because I was like everyone else. I was this huge fan of the original, and that voice. There was this voice in my head that was just saying, "Do not fuck this up. Do not mess this up." That's a cleaner version of that. And then I just had to switch that voice off and let's just tell this really cool story, tell it in the best way possible. There are these great points of difference. Terry, in contrast to Rosemary, Terry has so much agency and ambition, and she's driving her own story forward. That's something I don't know, that adds sort of propulsive feel to it, to her story, and the fact that she has this really strong ambition, but the closer she gets to her goal, the more she has to sacrifice, which is true to life sometimes.
Definitely, and your cast, she's fantastic in this the role of Terry. There's a very charismatic way about her. It's kind of innocent, yet at the same time, like you said, she's very powerful. She's fierce. She's fierce. How important was it to get an actor that can portray something to make you really root for her?
Well, Julia, I think with Terry in particular, her arc is so much of it is internal, So we really needed someone who could sell that, who could sell, all the stuff that's not on the page, all the stuff that's not in dialogue, the looks, the feeling, where she is psychologically at any given moment, and there's often layers, she's performing, but what's going on under that performance, and then there's a layer under that. So it was incredibly important to get someone who could really nail it, and Julia did. I mean, she was absolutely.
And
I was blown away by
her
it.
physicality is amazing too. Her dance, like she does a really great job with, I think in body horror, how you use your body is so important. And she really kind of makes that come alive through the physicality that she puts into every frame of that movie.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest parts of Rosemary's Baby that I was captivated by, and that really made me passionate about film, is the cinematography. There's a lot of very clever ways to shoot that film, and this film has very clever ways that it's shot. What kind of discussions did you have with your cinematographer in order to create this ambiance that he created?
Well, that would be, Natalie Erica James, she directed it, and she, they would have had hours of conversations, I'm sure. And I know that she, I'm in awe of the way she shoots things, and the way she, so often I will look at a scene that she shot, and I have envisioned it so differently, but the way she shot it is just annoyingly so much better than I've envisioned it. She has these really interesting ways in, and it was the same on Relic. We worked together on Relic, and she would just think of these, I don't know, you just these interesting angles and points of view, and where she finds that in the scene. So yeah, they did an incredible job that I cannot take any sort of credit for.
But I think we were really lucky to have a brilliant DP, and the crew on this movie was an absolute gift. From we were talking about the costuming, from the big sort of Broadway production numbers where they have these outrageous costumes, down to the shoe choice. It's just like, it's so specific and so vulnerable, and it really just feels like the sort of creative brain trust that we had on this was really just kind of a jackpot in many ways, because it creates that cinematic language, that visual language that you want to have the continuity of storytelling from the original, but again, you want it to feel like it's its own movie, and I think we were lucky to get that.
It's one of those beautiful things that doesn't happen all that often, where you get all this amazing team and everyone's working toward the same vision, and it just it's such a thrill having so many wildly talented people in their own lane all joining forces. And I feel like that's really what happened with this. It was just everyone just working. It was no easy task either, in the 60s New York, and it was shot in
Simon,
London.
our production designer, making London look like New York.
Yeah, it was this huge mammoth task, and I think I think they nailed it.
Definitely did. And the story is very unique. It's not the same retelling of Rosemary's Baby. It has its own voice. And acting, same thing. Your actors have their own personality. It's not trying to mimic anything. How difficult is it to capture your voice in a story that's, so widely iconic and known?
It was pretty hard. I mean, for I think especially for Minnie and Roman, who are such iconic characters, you've got to honor them, but you've also got to, you've also to drive the story, and you need them to do what you want them to do. So it was tough. It was constantly, it was really fun, really.
Yeah.
It was just playing in this world. And I think we all felt free in this idea that none of us wanted to remake. We all love Rosemary's Baby, but none of us wanted to remake it, and none of us wanted to retread those same beats and those steps. So we had poetic license to take it in this unique and interesting direction. And I think that made the process a lot easier. And the further we got away from that Rosemary's Baby, the more freeing it became. And then I don't know, did you experience that? That's sort of how I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny. Ruth Gordon had this amazing quote. When she won the Oscar for playing Minnie, she comes up and she takes the statue and she goes, "I can't tell you how encouraging a thing like this is." And so, I think it's sort of a nice ethos of like continuing the conversation and growing on that. And, we're so encouraged by the original movie, and thinking, okay, well, how can we grow that? And, Dianne, with her set of her own Oscars, really did that and really made the role her own. And so we gave her, as much fodder as we can, as much cannon fodder as we can. And then, man, did she just fire.
Awesome. And now you're bringing this to Fantastic Fest, and what kind of reactions are you looking for when you see this with an audience?
Well, everyone, we saw it with an audience yesterday for the first time with an audience, and people gasped and laughed in all the right places. They cringed in the best spots, and it's always funny because you've seen the film, but usually you've seen it with a group of people who are making the film, or by yourself and on a little screener. So seeing it with an audience is it's so great, because it's validating in lots of ways, and it's also, you're always learning as well. You're always like, so that worked better than I thought. That I don't even know if that was a joke or not, but that worked as a joke, So I think, it was pretty fantastic. And I think the festival, it's my first time here, first time in Austin and visiting the festival, and it has not disappointed. It's been an absolute blast for me.
It's nice to be among our people. There's a really good horror community, and just when those lights go down and you're with your people and you're there to sort of have that safe space, and just as Christian was saying, hearing the gasps, it just kind of gives you life. And so we're really grateful to Fantastic Fest for having us, and we're excited for people to see it.
Yeah, I was eavesdropping on the women next to me in the cinema. I was just sort of leaning over like this, and they liked it, which was good.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. It is a very great watch. Very much in the same realm as Rosemary's Baby, but with its own voice. So congratulations on this project.
Thank you so much.